Yeah.
It makes for really good conversation.
It's a difficult time of the year. People are away sometimes.
I know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, so I will keep an eye on people joining and I'll let them in. And otherwise, I think I'll turn on Fathom. And do you want to just start? What do you think, guys?
Yeah.
Do you want to wait a bit longer?
Well, let's wait like 1 or 2 minutes.
Wait 1 or 2 minutes.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, people are starting. There's the note taker. Oh, no, I'd let it in. Sorry, I didn't realize I had let it in. Okay.
All
Good.
right.
Whenever you're ready, but no rush.
Okay. I don't know. Do you want to just begin? All right. So our opening slide, this training is how to tell your engineering story. This is the team. You might already know us all, but I'm Morgan. I'm going into my 3rd year of geophysics and geology. And these are the other people. If you guys want to introduce yourself while we're still on the slide, feel free.
Hi guys, I'm Ben. I'm the other intern. I'm going into my 2nd year. I would like to think I'm starting to get to know most of you, which is exciting. But yeah.
I'm Sarah. Really great to see you. This is my first of the training sessions that I've been here for, so I'm really excited to see how this goes. And this is my favorite one, when you get to hear about engineering stories. I love this one. I find it really inspiring. So welcome to those of you watching the video afterwards and catching up. I hope you really love it. So I'm Sarah. I do all the operations things here at EOT. So if you have any questions along the way, please do feel free to send me an email now or in September after our interns leave and go back to school. Reach out to me with any questions about any of this content. So thanks.
Thanks, Sarah. Good to have you back. And yeah, this is one of my favorite trainings too, because this is where we really start to get into the how of things. Like we talked last week about what the barriers are and why we do what we do, and we started to touch on some of the hows, but this is really one of the key tools that we use is the how. And so welcome everybody. I'm Rebecca. I, like Sarah, will be here beyond the summer with when Morgan and Ben return to school. So titles aside, our role here is to make sure this is a great experience for all of you. We're here to help. If you have any questions, anything comes up, please just reach out. Awesome. Back to Morgan and Ben.
All right. So up next, we just have today's agenda. So first, me and Ben are going to go through our stories kind of as an example for you guys. And then we're going to talk about why storytelling is important, the do's and don'ts, and then the next steps. And we'll also have like a bit of Q&A at the end. Okay, so we have our values moment. For this training, we really focus on human-focused teamwork as well as authentic collaboration, because that's really, we're going for the more personable route and really connection-based, and just showing the kids that you're a person too, and you've like been where they are and you understand how they feel. Like that's what we really want to get across. Our story, our vision is that one day every Canadian understands the power of engineering to unlock and shape positive societal change. We think everyone can be in engineering, and if they have the resources that they deserve, then they can do anything, basically. Okay, this is my slide. I'm gonna go over my story. It's a little chaotic, but I think that really represents my story and how I got to where I am. You'll notice some drawings from like childhood and some little texts, and they say, sorry, I can't read them. If I was a scientist, I'd be a paleontologist, because I like to dig things up that I've never seen. And I'm not a paleontologist, but I'm working on being a geologist, which in my opinion is close enough. And it's crazy that when I was, I think, 10, I was already, I was like, oh yeah, I could do something like that. Like I'd enjoy that. And then we have another one where it's like where I first learned like about rocks. And I had completely forgotten that in fourth grade, I believe, you cover like all about rocks and geology. And I had completely forgot all of that until I went into geology. Up until I think 12th grade or 11th grade, I thought I was going to go into art, hence the random snake drawings. I had a big thing for drawing snakes. um, so I really thought I was going into art, but instead I ended up going into originally math. That's what I applied to for Western. I was pursuing a degree in applied mathematics. Then from there, I realized I didn't really enjoy Calc 2 particularly. I hit a roadblock. I didn't really understand anything and I didn't really enjoy anything. So I decided to pivot, and another one of my interests was physics. I loved physics in high school, and I still enjoyed it in university. But I don't know if you guys know about physics, but it's got a lot of calculus, especially later on. So I decided to go a more applied route and a more hands-on route, which is geophysics, and it's more about the Earth's like interior and that physics, and that has less to do with calculus, but you still do need some, unfortunately. But I've done my time. I've passed the calc classes that I need, so I'm finally home free. And you can see all my photos of rocks. A lot of these are from my summer field course. And that really just cemented how much I enjoy geology and like seeing new things. And interestingly, I don't know if you guys know about sedimentary rocks, but there's something called reading the rocks. And essentially, you can go up to the rock, just look at it and tell like how it was formed and like what environment it formed in, which is so cool. I think it's so interesting. They're like little history books, but they're just rocks. um, anyway, like also went to Hawaii and I saw a bunch of volcanic rock, which was so cool to see. And it like all of this really just cemented that I am where I want to be. And I'm just so happy I found it. And that's basically my story. All right. And next up, I'll leave it to Ben for his story.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah, thanks for that. That's great. Um, my story is a little less rocks and a little more plastic. I mean, I guess concrete is rock, so that's the commonality. But going back to, I guess, where it all started in the early grades in kindergarten and grade 1, 2, 3. Most of the, I mean, I'm sure some of you guys are going to those similar classrooms where I really developed a love for Lego. And I have an older brother, so he had all the cool Lego sets and all that kind of stuff. And so, I really, took his old sets and kind of just built whatever with it. And, I started with, block houses, and then I eventually like graduated, I'd make all these interiors in these houses, and I'd make like these detachable roofs, and I'd, kind of take it to the next level. And I really, really enjoyed building that. And I also enjoyed building like miniature Lego and stuff like that. And you can see there's like those Lego architecture sets, which is just the scene of London. But I used to do that a lot, where I would just build miniature sized things and all these things where I would take the sets and then I'd make something different, which is something I love about Lego, and it is why it's just so amazing. And I will speak on Lego forever, but that's something that really pursued me in the early years, or drove me in the early years to pursue some sort of building and some sort of hands-on stuff. And then all throughout high school, I was interested in the maths and the sciences. So that had kind of put the idea of engineering in my head. And then my two older siblings, that same brother and my older sister, decided they're going into engineering. And I remember my brother had come home one winter break from school, and he had shown me some of his, it's probably some calculus homework, first year, integrals or something like that. And little grade 6 me or grade 7 me was just like, this is a foreign language to me. And I remember in that moment where I was like, I want to learn this, and I want to know this. And so that kind of implanted the idea in my brain. And so then my brother went into software engineering, and then my sister went into chemical and biological. And so I got a little snippet into both of those. But I had always still really enjoyed the building aspect. And then probably about 2021, I would say. I don't know how many of you are familiar with downtown Vancouver, but basically there's one main downtown street called Georgia Street. And on the side of Georgia Street, there's a building called the Cube. And you can see it right there. But basically it's this steel concrete pillar that goes up the center of a building, and then the floors are connected with suspension cables, you can see there, and it's built up around that. And it was absolutely mind-boggling the first time I saw that, because you look at the photo and you see, wow, like it looks so unstable, but it allows the building to sway and rock with the wind, with the earthquakes. And it's like in Vancouver, it's highly regarded as one of the most earthquake-proof buildings. And at the time, it almost seemed like magic to me, where it was like, how does that building actually stand like that, and how does it not just topple over? So that kind of sparked that curiosity in me of building engineering and how it worked, and what that was, and why that happened. And then if you look in the bottom right corner there, that's the Huazhong Canyon Suspension Bridge. And it is the tallest bridge in the world at this moment, I believe. I'm not 100% certain on that one. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it stands at 2,000 feet tall, and 9,500 feet wide, and it's just this massive engineering feat where it takes this 2-hour drive and like along this canyon wall, like winding road, and just makes it 2 minutes. It's this crazy feat of engineering that allows people to access other places easy, and it's just it was crazy the first time I saw it. And I think, yeah, like there's all these little different factors that influence me towards engineering. There wasn't one big, I need to go into this moment, but it was like all these little points along my journey that kind of further solidified it in place, and allowed me to be sure in my decision. And I think that's what we're doing here too, is we're giving these little opportunities for the students to see engineering as for them. But yeah, that's my engineering story. Yeah, there we go. There's lots of memories. So why storytelling? Like why are we doing it? Our goal is to create a positive experience for the students. We've said it time and time again throughout this whole thing. They may have never met an engineer before, and you're that experience. So what you say and how you make them feel really lasts and impacts on them. Yeah, your story helps them see that it's for all people. It's for different kinds of people. And then this aspect of a personal story helps that big scary topic of engineering feel quite accessible, and open to the idea of what we've been trying to promote this whole time, of engineering is for me and I can do it in engineering. And most importantly, remember that we're here to have fun and help the students have a positive experience. So that's all to do with, how to make them feel in that aspect. And, students will come years down the line and they remember, oh, I remember how I felt. I felt so inspired during when so-and-so came into my class and taught me about engineering. And I think that's so important to remember. All right. So why storytelling? Let's look at the benefits first. For students, it's often easier for people to remember than just a straight list of facts and, like pros and cons kind of thing. And more on what I was saying of, when someone connects to your story emotionally, they're far more likely to remember than any other time where, it's just like a list of facts or just a presentation. And also for us as well, we, telling our engineering story requires us to reflect and to remember and to kind of put ourselves in the kids' shoes and like what we were like, at that point in time. And you may even discover something new about yourself and rediscover why you love it and why you do what you do. And yeah. Where do we use it? So storytelling, doesn't just have to pertain to, EIR classroom visits. We can use, youth workshops, events, National Engineering Month, in your own volunteer work, Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, Girl Guides, soccer coaching even. It's that idea that, that when someone connects emotionally, they're far more likely to retain it. And storytelling is a proven effective method of, getting your point across or getting what we want to tell across to these kids and for them to remember. And of course, as you go and as you tell your story more and more, it will become easier. And yes, it's daunting the first time, but as you learn to tell it, it becomes more natural and comfortable. Yeah, and start with someone you don't mind messing up in front of, your family and your peers. And you can ask them, like, what did you find memorable? What did you find like hard to talk about? And hopefully they can be honest with you and, and give you the hard truth before you head into the classroom. But yeah, so how to build your story. Firstly, what I said, take some time to reflect. Take some time to reflect on your own journey. How you got there, how your schooling, your even before your schooling. And a really important piece is to think about who you were. And you can talk to like other people who are around at that time, but who you are when you were that kid's age or when you were that grade, and how what things you're influenced by and what you enjoyed at that time. And I think that when you really cater it to the students, it really helps for them to remember it. Yeah, and like you want to identify yourself in the story, like identify who you are as a human being. So just beyond that idea of like your job title as an engineer, but who are you as a person in that engineering field? And then your motivations, why did you choose engineering? Why did you stay in engineering as well? I think that helps so much for the students to be like, okay, this person, may have gone through trials and hard stuff, but they still chose it and they still are in engineering. Yeah, and most importantly, big emphasis on this point. Don't forget the why you were doing it. Why are you in engineering? Students you may leave the classroom And then 2 seconds later, the students will forget what you do, but they'll remember why you did it and why you love it so much. But yeah, and of course, knowing your audience, like, would the student find it interesting? Yeah, like, will you be able to keep the attention of the grade 4, 5, 6, whatever? But yeah, so do's and don'ts now. Let's start off with the don'ts. So these are children. These aren't your business partners. So talking to them like it's a business presentation will not go over very well. And like the detail, like, I mean, I'm prone to this so many times, as you'll very much get to know throughout this whole presentations. I'm prone to rambling on and being super detailed and giving way too many details. But you want to be descriptive, and you want to be clear on what you do and how you do it. But you don't want to give them so many details that the students just because all of our students attention span is shrinking now, so you'll lose them quicker. Yeah, and like, these students have different interests than you. They're a different age group, so they may not be interested in as interested in bridges as I am or you guys are, and so understanding like what interests them and kind of tailoring to that is super important. And lastly, honestly, most important, don't overstress yourself. It's this isn't expected to be a perfect presentation. You guys are going in there. This is amazing. They want the real you. They don't want this like polished, perfect form of you. So don't overstress yourself. So onto the do's. Enthusiasm, emotion. This again with the business presentation aspect of, they want to know the real you. They want to know who you are, and they want something tangible that they can think about, that they can picture. So using details and creating this picture in your mind is so important. And of course, we did those slides. That's so helpful, where the students can look at the slides and they can I'm talking about the cube building, and then they can see the cube building, and they can see how it's like this one pillar and it looks crazy, and it just helps that correlation and remembering. You wanna share the stories that go beyond just the fact of your career. Yes, you graduated from this university, but a grade 2 is not gonna care which university you graduated from, and so that's something, I kind of uphill you have to swallow, because that's important in the professional world, but not to a grade 2. Yeah, and then again, the rambling on. You got to keep it short and focused. Like, this is engineer, this is why I do it, this is what I do, and then have a opportunity for the kids to engage in that. Yeah, and then kind of the last point is going back onto that reflection piece, that piece of like, what is my engineering story actually, like, why did I do this? Because I think oftentimes when you're reflecting on why you chose it, stories and experiences might come up that you really knew previously, like, hadn't thought about in 20 years, or you didn't expect, and I think that's really important, where often, like, the best stories come from places we don't expect. Yeah, so we're gonna pop onto an activity now. I'll pass it over to Morgan, and she can set it up, and we'll figure it all out here.
All right, I think Sarah's the organizer of this meeting, so if you could organize the breakout rooms.
Oh, I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Perfect.
We just want to, it's really simple. Just tell your engineering story. That's all you have to do. Just talk about yourself. It's my dream. Like, that's all I like to do. So just talk about yourself. And once we come back, you can feel free to share what what you were talking about.
Okay, I'm going to keep it super low pressure. So I'm going to put like
Yeah.
3 or 4 people in each room. So if you're a little uncomfortable, that's okay. You can maybe
And I want you to know, no pressure at all. Like, we're not here to judge you on your story at all or anything like that. We just, we want to hear you talk, and we want to hear, this is a little bit of practice for you before you go into it, and we love to hear your stories. So we definitely no pressure at all.
Awesome. Okay, so how long do you want them in the breakout rooms, Morgan and Ben?
I mean, we have time. Maybe like 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Is that a little long?
Let's do 10 in case
Okay.
people want to be a bit quiet. So I have 25 after. So I'm going to send everyone to the rooms. You'll see a pop-up on your screen to go to the room, and then take 10 minutes. We'll give you a bit of a warning before we bring you back, so it's not going to cut you off all of a sudden. And we'll see you at 35 after. I feel like someone just joined. We'll have to make sure that we have in a room.
It's okay. It was Chris. I just popped him. I just admitted him.
Thank you. Okay.
Perfect.
Here they come. So you move a bit slow. Okay, here we go. Have fun, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Chris, I'm going to put you in a room if I can just figure out how.
Not a problem.
Isn't there like...
Bear with me. We have one with just 2 people. I'm going to put you with them. Here it comes. Oh, goodness. There's so little space.
Sorry, Chris, just for your information, we're just, we're telling our engineer, this whole thing about engineering.
Oh, Chris
stories,
is
right?
really good at this. He's
we're just chatting with the people.
Thanks for catching that. Sorry about that.
To me. Great job.
Mm-hmm.
You should see it. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh,
do you want to pause Fathom, Sarah, so it doesn't have an awkward long space?
Long pause of us chatting.
Just like, hey guys.
I don't. Oh, there. Okay.
You just click on. Yeah, you got it.
Yay. All right. Everyone's back. Does anyone want to share what they talked about in their breakout room?
I would share, but I think you guys have already heard my story.
The 3 of us
Chris.
we had time for 3 of us just to share our stories. That's what we did in our breakout room.
Was anyone in the middle of their story and they got cut off and they want to finish?
I'm also curious, how did that feel for all of you to, on the spot, just like have to reflect back and think about it? And it caught my attention when Morgan, when you mentioned, I totally forgot that we like learned about rocks in grade 4, and now that's like re-emerging, and all these little things that you don't even think about along the way that do form your path. And when you get the chance to reflect, you're like, oh yeah, like duh. So yeah, how did that feel? Like,
Well,
did it feel awkward, clunky, confident? I don't know.
I'll just share a little thing with you that I'm always very impressed. Sorry, I turned off my camera for some reason. I'm always very impressed with how early experiences shape people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not just engineers. I think it's throughout life. And those early experiences are so important. So I think it speaks to how important for us to do this is, because those can be experiences for people.
It's so true. The other thing that I thought about was Morgan and I got the opportunity to actually go to a class, and Chris was there actually, who's here today, and so Morgan shared her story. She practiced in front of this group of kids and talked about rocks, and we were taken aback. They were like so excited to ask her questions about rocks. Like it was like this unexpected thing. So you never know like what's going to catch their attention in your story.
And at the start, I was just like, oh yeah, I study rocks. And they're like, oh, that's so boring. And then like I got more into it and they're like, oh my God, wait, this is so cool. And I'm like, yeah, it is so cool. Like,
What a
just
nice way to
interesting.
get to know the kids too. Like we tend to tell people, if you're new in a classroom, like start with your very first visit being just you sharing your engineering story, and maybe do a Q&A with the kids. And some engineers will say to us like, oh, it only takes me 10 minutes to tell my whole story. That won't fill a classroom visit. But like, if you can spark that curiosity and talk about rocks for an hour, like what an amazing way to connect with the kids and get to know them. And then that can help shape the rest of your visits with them.
Yeah. And maybe it's not just talking about rocks for an hour, but like really being intentional about asking them questions and listening. Like that's what's going to help with the connection piece, and really inform like, oh, I know that these kids are all excited about this particular thing. I'm trying to remember, they had one really interesting question, Morgan. I think that we were like, oh, I don't even know the answer to that. Cool, let's go away, find the answer, and then the next time you come back, you can be like, hey, I really looked into that, and that's the connection piece.
I feel like he was asking whether the seafloor held water and why. If it was
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
something about the beach or the ocean, because there was something. It was really see.
They were asking like, because sand is very permeable. They were asking like how the oceans don't just like drain into the sand.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good question.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah. Anyone else?
One other thing I want to add, and I hope someone else wants to share. One other thing I want to add is I've never felt more connected to engineering than when I started to think about my story. Like, and I think about like the people around me who have retired too. Like, it's kind of hard to, how do you tell someone that you had this amazing title or you had this really amazing career, and like you want to tell it in a way that can really be relatable for kids, and like practicing that and thinking about that made me feel really connected to like, why did I choose engineering in the first place? And like kind of selfishly, like it just was an amazing exercise for me personally.
I use stories a lot in my job. Obviously, I'm a bit older and I mentor quite a lot of people in the job that I'm in. So I always use experiences about what I did in the past. And sometimes I think people are like, oh, you're just blowing your own trumpet. But I always find it easier if I'm trying to explain a concept to someone, is to share an experience on how that concept worked. How did I get there? How did I come up with the idea of what I was going to do to fix it? And then how did I prove that that fix was really going to address what the real root cause was and not just a symptom? So I've always been a bit of a storyteller in that respect. To the extent sometimes I'm like, okay, enough stories, John. You don't need to tell any more stories to get the message. So.
But you're actually doing you're kind of merging together another tactic that's known to help break down barriers, which is connecting these concepts to the real world. And so your stories are real in real world. So makes a lot of sense.
With my own kids, that's what I always did, especially in mathematics, because I'm good. I love maths, right? I was always good at maths, always good at the engineering side of it. And rather than just try and teach people, this is how you solve the problem, I would always try and explain to them where you would use that in the real world and why it's important to know how to solve that problem. And it's not about remembering the formula, it's remembering that there is a formula you can go get. Right, and use that and how you use it, and then how it applies into the real world. And I always find that makes it more meaningful, because they feel then that it's something they can hold on to, rather than something that's just in the ether and they're kind of like, yeah, that was all good theory, but I don't really know what to do with it.
So true.
So true.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about my story. So I'm a software engineer, and my journey started when I was about 10 years old. My parents, I was into video games, and my parents at the time, they bought me an Atari. This is in the mid to late 80s. And the Atari system that I had, there's a little slot for a cartridge to put your games in. But if you don't put the cartridge in and you turn on the machine, it just starts up with this blue screen, and there's like a cursor that's blinking. waiting for you to do something. And back then, computers had instruction manuals. So I was looking at the instruction manual, trying to understand what the heck this thing was. And I learned that it is a basic interpreter. So it's basically waiting for you to input a basic program that it will execute for you. And of course, I had no idea what that was. And back then, if you wanted to learn anything, you had to go to the library. So I went to the library. I took out some books on programming to try and learn what this basic language was all about. And the really interesting thing was, right now you can download source code and run it. Back then, the source code was printed in the appendix of the books, and so you had to literally copy by hand the code that was at the back of the book into your computer in order for it to work. And even worse, if you can imagine a word processor where like let's say Microsoft Word, imagine you typing something and immediately after you press enter, you cannot change anything on the previous line. That is the type of editor in the environment that I was working in, trying to get this program to work. And it was an exercise in futility. It was painful. I'd have to restart if I put a typo. I'm like, oh my God. But I remember that first time I got a program running, it was a blackjack game, a text-based blackjack game, and I was blown away. I was like, I cannot believe that this thing that I inputted into the computer turns into this game, and I was hooked. And so I started to, that was basically the start of the journey. And I find the really interesting thing about this story is, especially if you're in tech, I'm not as old as John. I'm 50, but in the software engineering world, there's a lot of younger people. There's very few of us that are still, stuck around at that age. So when I tell this kind of story about the environment that I learned how to code in, it really like, wow, I had no idea that this was the type of environment that you had to grow up in, learning about how to code versus now. There's so much resources, so much tooling and, availability to learn the stuff. So yeah, that was my journey.
Holy cow, I'm blown away. That's amazing. What a
I
cool
love
story.
it.
Great story.
What I really liked about it too is just the idea of like the grit. And I know like grit is something that I'm seeing more and more show up in kind of classrooms and growth mindset and grit, and you just haven't figured it out yet kind of thing. And so kids can totally relate to that. Like maybe they don't want to be software engineers, but they're like, yeah, like I'm really stuck on this particular thing. And so they can relate to like that feeling, I guess. And that's what it all comes back to with these stories, is that feeling you want to leave them with.
Oh, I totally agree with you.
Great
That
story.
idea of grit. And like for me, part of being an engineer is that I always try to have this attitude of like, I can do it. Like any problem, I can fix it. There is an answer. I just have to figure out what it is. And yeah, and grit. And like, oh, I just love that you share that with the kids. That's so inspiring to me. So cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. So,
Okay, sorry, I'll add
go
to
ahead.
this. The first access I had to a computer was at a store, and this goes way back, and there was a thing called a TRS-80 at Radio
Oh, wow.
Shack, and I couldn't
Before my time.
afford one, but there was one at the local store, and after school every day I would go to the store and stand there in the store and program it in BASIC. And sometimes a crowd would develop, I'd be doing silly things like, printing. And it was like, I remember, like, I didn't remember that until you brought it up for me. So thank you very much. It's a great, I think many people maybe have had that experience.
That's cool.
Amazing. That's so cool.
Oh, so it sounds like we're going back in time. I was a IBM systems engineer, and every computer, every product they made had a manual. And I used to repair their massive printers that they used to have in banks. And the service manual was that thick, and everything had a code. So the display would show an error code 301 on a computer is a keyboard error. I still remember that. 1701 was a hard disk error. So those are things that get ingrained in your brain when you see it, or somebody calls you and says, I see this error. Say, okay, unplug your keyboard, plug it back in. But yeah, in those days, everything had manuals, and you had to write down what you did to fix it, so that the next engineer who came, if he saw the same problem, he would see, oh, this is what you did to fix it. So yeah, we went, and again, talking to Dwayne, who's here as well, we did electronics. I used to repair components on the board before the days of swapping out the boards and stuff too. So that's my engineering background. I've been in IT over 30 years. And I support a school in Milton where I go and we talk about water, mainly water projects, and how kids behave on tasks that they're given to do with clean water, and how they think it's. And I've been doing that for 2 or 3 years now, and it's been fantastic. So that's my background, and my apologies for being late and missing 2 sessions. It's just life takes takes over here.
Thanks for sharing, Farhan. It's amazing. Like, we all start somewhere. It's so inspiring for the kids to hear that. Love it.
And it's interesting, Chris and I both do water projects as well. I do it from an NGO perspective. He does it from a business perspective. And we have a foundation in Kenya that does water projects and tailoring programs, teaching women to tailor for a whole year. When they finish, we give them a sewing machine and materials to start their own business. Again, it's all about helping the community be able to earn their own income. It's a marginalized communities, but it gives you that satisfaction that when you can do such things and help them out. And yeah, if anyone here wants to go to Kenya and see those projects, let me know.
Amazing. I so want to go. That's awesome.
All right. Are we good? Anyone else have anything to add?
There's one thing I would add. Just talking about some of us older guys. I'm actually in the process of writing down some family history for one of my older brothers, because he's wrote some stuff down and he's wanting some input on it. And I was talking to my wife the other day about the change in our lifetime, right? Like when I first came to Canada 25 years ago, I didn't even have an email address, right? I've never used email. I had to learn how to use email to apply for the job that I was coming to Canada to do. And when I think about that amount of change in the lifetime that we've had, especially the older people on this call, there's more changed in that period of time probably than any other time in history in such a short space of time. And I think kind of grounding kids back to that all of this technology is all relatively new in the grand scheme of things. And like back in the day, you had to go figure it out. You couldn't just go and ask AI or ask Google and get the answer. And I think it's important to try and get the kids to the skills where they actually have to do some of it themselves, instead of just leaning on all the tools and just learning how to pick it up from a computer, actually to write things down and to go try things. And Farhan was talking about back in the days when he was doing solder repair. I still do solder repair. I still repair boards. I still do that for my job today to try and figure out what's wrong. And I think it's really important to try and impart that into the kids so that they know that you don't need a computer, you don't need all this technology. You actually have a pair of hands and a brain, and you can still go figure out, right? And to what you said, Sarah, my mantra has always been, I don't know how to do it yet, but there's always a way. There is always a way. Growing up, I told my kids, I can fix anything except a burst balloon, but I can buy you a new balloon. That was how I always said it to them. And they've always called me Dad, they'd fix it, because I just fix everything.
John, we are doing a bonus training this year. It's brand new. We're just in the development of it right now. You'll see it. I think they have a slide at the end with the dates, talking about specifically AI and how you can maybe use it to help you develop lessons, but also how to talk about it in the classroom, because it is a sensitive topic and some school boards don't allow it, and teachers are scared of it, but it's there. And so to your point on change, like, we want to sort of address this, and it's really thinking about kids being able to be critical thinkers. And yes, there's tools, but you need to be able to use critical thinking and have all those other skills. So hopefully be able to attend that training because, like I said, it's new and you know, we're always open to feedback, but I think we'll have some good conversation there.
Awesome.
Yeah, Rebecca, I mean, I do a lot of AI training for seniors. So it's a different mindset from there as well. So I do quite a bit of that. And to John, I have written my own family history as well.
Wow.
Yes. And I'll tell you one thing, this was done in the 90s, right? And the kids, well, grandkids now are asking more about it.
Yeah.
So you know, I have to update it. Obviously, there's now grandkids and since that time, but it's so important to have family history because what happens is once the eldest person in the family passes away or passes on, that part of history, who they knew, what they did, how they did it, all gets lost, right? So yeah, I mean, I wrote this, I was passionate about it, but then now I'm seeing the value in it when you have kids asking me, oh, why we need to know more about granddad, you know, who's passed away and what he did, how he did it, and this helps capture that. So yeah, I feel it's important to do it. It was done
That's
in
awesome.
Word a long time ago, so I'm sure there's tools and stuff out there, but I feel it's really critical for every family to have some kind of a historical document and how you tie into people. I mean, again, you know, it's amazing when the tentacles grow out of this structure of how you're related to other people. It's just amazing.
Just the value of
That's great.
storytelling. It's amazing. Just so inspiring.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to go back to the AI topic because I'm a software engineer, and it is having an absolutely massive impact on my industry. Like the job is completely unrecognizable from let's say a year ago, and so we're constantly fighting this issue of, hey, we can just let AI to, you know, basically do all of our work. So how do we maintain? How do we prevent the atrophy of our mind when all of a sudden it's you know, doing all this work for us, and it's requiring a massive shift in mindset of how to reduce that atrophy. So yeah, like I have lots of stuff to talk about with in relation to that. So if that ever comes up in that future EIR session, I can talk about that stuff.
Awesome.
All right. I think just to, sorry, I'm gonna talk now. To add on to the AI thing and the atrophy of basically your brain as a muscle, we're gonna, in the future training, we're probably gonna talk about kids using AI, especially in when it comes to learning, because it does, like, it's been proven to not, it doesn't improve like their cognitive function at all, and they tend to understand things less when they do their research with AI than with like Google or by reading or anything else. It's just so they don't retain anything when using AI, and it decreases their retention rate at a really rapid rate. Anyway, I just wanted to add that on there.
Morgan, I'm going to comment on that because I think it's really important. There's actually European countries that are taking computers and AI and electronics out of schools because they can see the detrimental aspect of how kids are not developing the way they should in terms of their intellect. So they're actually going back to pen and paper in a lot of places and saying we need to break this cycle and educate the kids so that they retain and it's not going in one ear and out the other. So what you're talking about is really, really important in my opinion anyway.
That's a great point, John. When we're consulting for companies, especially with adoption, there's a huge difference in cultures. With, you know, the Gen Zs coming into the workforce, they know how to get information to get things done. When there's challenges which relate to going to manual stuff, it becomes a lot difficult. So It's interesting the way they want to come in. They want to hit the ground running. I mean, when we join corporate companies, they take a day or two to get you your laptop, a day or two to get your credentials to get in. I mean, those days are gone. These guys want to come in with their own iPad or Apple computers, connect and get working. And a lot of companies are finding that challenging, to adapt to this new workforce that they have no option but to go down that path. So it's a very, very different culture, very different mindset with the youngsters coming in. And yeah, it's fun trying to get companies to adopt to this new changes.
For sure.
Yeah, so one of the ways that I try and prevent mental atrophy, because I use AI every day in my job, is you kind of have to build this skill of what I call meta thinking. You have to think about your thinking, and you have to be very cognizant of whether you actually understood something at a surface level, or if you're missing, some of the details. And that takes a lot of practice and a lot of maturity to understand, to understand what do you actually understand about the problem that you're trying to solve. And so one of the things I do, for example, is when I'm reaching into a new topic, I will actually ask the AI to give me some skill testing questions to practice. So I don't just gloss over. I say, hey, I'm trying to learn this new concurrency model in this language, and I don't really give me a sample code with a bug in it, and I'm going to try and find it. And then I'll basically try and debug it. I'll walk through it, and then I'll say, okay, I think this is going to happen, and it's going to tell me, nope, that's not right. Okay, and then and so on, and I give it rules. Like I can actually give rules. I can say, I don't want you to give me the answer. I want you to wait until I get close to the answer before you lead me to something. So you can basically kind of you can program into the AI like how you actually want it to learn, how you actually want it to teach you concepts. So I do things like, when you're about to explain a concept to me, first give me a problem that the concept is trying to solve. Then introduce the concept that solves that problem, and then I'll dive deeper into, okay, so now give me some practical problems that I can try and solve now that I have this concept. Okay, so now I want you to give me some more nuanced problems that might arise out of this particular model, right? So there's ways you can do it, but you have to really think about what what the limits are, and that's a really hard skill that I think most people are not used to exercising.
So I'm gonna say that Morgan and Ben or whoever the organizer is for the bonus training, we might need to make it an hour and a half. There seems to be, there's so much to say. I want to just be respectful of everyone's time. I know it's 1 or just past the hour now. So if you have to hop off, don't worry. The rest is being recorded, but I'm going to suggest we move on to wrap up this training, and I hope you all can come to the bonus training.
Yes.
And I hope you all see the value of storytelling in sparking curiosity.
Look at that.
I love it.
All right, so here are recommended resources. We have training sessions, and we have a prompt list, which I'm going to show you briefly. Are we sending out the actual slides? Because there are a couple links in here.
We can send all the links out.
All right, and LinkedIn, connecting with your fellow engineers, very important. Next steps, we have a storyboard and then the prompts list. They're basically just like starting off your, like, how to tell your engineering story. The storyboard is a little more like Canva-y. It's like artistic. And then the prompt list is just like a list of questions that you might want to answer. And those are the links. Oh, these are links. So we'll send out the slides to you, and you can click those. And then we have our sponsors. Just thank you to all our sponsors. Great. And then Q&A. I feel like we've done quite a bit of that. So I think we're good. I think we're good on the Q&A. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I do have one last question. Sorry. And I know we got sent out that email about the schools that we can connect with. I replied to that email directly saying, hey, this is the school, but I'm not sure if that's the right way to do that. Do I need to reach out to the school directly or?
That's great. We'll handle it from there. And
Okay.
once we match you, you'll get another email basically connecting you with your teacher.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just going to say, Ben's put those links in the chat if anyone wants to grab them now, but we will be sending them out. And we can hang out for a little while if anyone has other questions like Romulo's. Otherwise, do feel free to drop off.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the session.
Thank you all
Thanks for
so
coming.
much.
Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. I've loved hearing you all chat
Right?
and just so much shared knowledge and experience is just so valuable. I mean, for me going into engineering and just hearing your guys' stories is just so great for just to learn about them. But yeah, so thank you for that, guys.
Right. You know what, Ben? I'm learning as much as you're learning, I think, just by listening to other people. So that's one of the great things for me is we're learning so much on this just by sharing everybody's different backgrounds. So it's really cool.
There were so many like IT and software people today.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Thanks for coming and sharing, John. That was really interesting
Yeah.
to hear your story.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I'll see you
John.
guys next time.
Yeah, see you
Yes.
next
All right.
Yeah, see you.
Bye, John.
Bye. He's really sweet.